Hey there, race fans! It's Race Day Top 5 with me, Frank 5. Richmond Raceway, the short track action track, the track where you gotta get your elbows out, you gotta beat and bang on other guys, and interesting storylines always come out of that track. And yesterday, we got a good amount of storylines, including our 6th different winner of the season. Let's get into all that went down at the action track. Number 1, Kyle Larson, Young Money, his first win of the 2023 season as he captured yesterday's Toyota Owners 400 at Richmond Raceway, holding off Josh Berry, Ross Chastain, Christopher Bell, and Kevin Harvick for the victory. Kyle Larson so far this year has had fast cars, but has been so close to winning races. He hadn't sealed the deal. Think back to the Daytona 500. Strong car the entire race. One of the best performances I've seen from Kyle Larson in the 500 since 2017 in his time with Ganassi. He had a car capable of winning, but on the last lap got put in the middle after a late block didn't work on Ricky Stenhouse. He got put in the middle, and because of some cars back there tangling with one another, he was a part of it and got right to the final lap. Fontana, we think he's going to be one of the favorites because that's one of his best tracks. Has an electrical fuel pressure issue early on in the race. Takes him out of contention, yet he's able to run with the top 10, top 15 when he comes back down the track multiple laps down. Las Vegas, strong car. Playing second fiddle with his teammate William Byron all day. Looked like he had the lead and the win late. When a late race yellow comes out, they pit. He gets stuck behind Martin Truex Jr. on old tires. Loses the race, finishes second. Phoenix, once again, strong car, keeping up with Byron. Thought he had the win on a late race restart, but on the final restart, got passed by William Byron for the victory. Then we go to Atlanta, running second in the late stages of the race, caught up in a wreck with Eric Almirola, who blows a tire off of turn 4. Last weekend, great road course racer. You'd think he would run well and probably contend for the win at COTA. Gets caught up in incidents early on, was able to bounce back for a top 15, but didn't really showcase what he had. But yesterday, he finally pulled through with his first win of the season and his second win at Richmond. Yesterday, Kyle Larson was a good race car. He ran top 5, top 7 pretty much the entire day. Was good at the beginning, struggled in the mid stages, but stayed in the top 10 and kept his track position to at least have a chance at the very end. And the end of the race, when he was a couple seconds back from his teammate who was in the lead, William Byron, it looked like he was going to settle for a top 5. But then the caution comes out with 28 to go when Tyler Redick, last week's winner, spins in turn 1 after getting loose on the inside of the 4 car, setting up for late restarts of the race. He was able to beat everyone else off of pit road and survive 2 restarts and was able to pull through for his first win of the season. A big win for the 5 team, and it's a big week for Hendrick in general, because on Wednesday, if you didn't hear, Hendrick Motorsports won their appeal for the penalties that they were given from Phoenix because their louvers did not meet the minimum, did not pass through NASCAR inspection. They didn't follow NASCAR's requirements as far as the rule book goes. So every single driver and team was docked driver and owner's points. Their crew chief suspended for 4 races, and they were given a big fine for it. Well, on Wednesday, Hendrick won their appeal for their points that they were able to get back for the drivers and owners. They aren't able to get their crew chiefs back. They weren't able to get back the money that they were fined. But at the end of the day, they really wanted to get their points back, and they were able to get that. They won the appeal. They're happy about it. NASCAR isn't really happy about them winning the appeal, but it happened, so whatever. But it was a big weekend for them to, showcase that, hey, we won our appeal. We're still going to be strong. And by golly, they were strong all day long in that 5 car. Came through when it mattered the most, and he got his first win of the season. And also, it was not only a big day for Larson, but it was a pretty big day for Hendrick Motorsports, considering Larson winning. As you know, the paint scheme he's running, the HendrickCars.com paint scheme, it's similar to the one that Ricky Hendrick drove when he was a driver. Yesterday would have been his 43rd birthday, and as we all know, he was part of the plane crash in 2004 en route to Martinsville that killed him and many other people on board, including Rick Stoddard, some other members of Hendrick Motorsports, Randy Dorton, the pilots, and Tony Stewart's helicopter pilot. It got my joy choked up when he talked about it on the cooldown lap when Larson was celebrating, and I had no idea when he brought that up that it was Ricky Hendrick's birthday, and that it got me a little emotional, but it was pretty fitting that Larson wins on what would have been Ricky Hendrick's 43rd birthday. It's pretty cool. So congrats to Kyle Larson and the 5 team, their first win of the season, and I guarantee it's the first of many for 2023. Number 2, the rest of Hendrick. Strong day, despite one of them not getting a good finish, but the rest of the Hendrick cars were so good yesterday. Starting off, we have to talk about William Byron, who was by far the best Hendrick car yesterday. So strong, led the most laps, could really keep up with the Toyotas from the Gibbs camp yesterday. That 24 was so good. Remember last year, he almost won this race last year, but lost it due to not being able to manage his tires late and lost the lead and the win to Denny Hamlin. This weekend yesterday, he had such a good race car. He won stage 1 and looked like he was going to be so strong the rest of the race, but the Gibbs cars came alive in stage 2. And stage 3, Byron was kind of playing second fiddle to the Gibbs cars, but then one of them had issues. He was able to battle out with Martin Truex. Again, he beat Martin Truex Jr. actually off pit road during the pit stops during the final stretch of green flag racing, in the middle of green flag racing. He beat him, and it looked like he was going to battle it out with Truex to the end until the Redick spin happened. Then everyone came down pit road. Byron came into the pits leading. He came out 4th, and it did look like a slow stop when you look back at it, but I don't know what those other teams did that were able to beat the 24 car off of pit road. He restarted 4th, but literally a few feet after they crossed the start-finish line in turn 1, Christopher Bell makes a move to the inside and kind of carries up the track and gets into the 24, sending him around spinning, and he hit the wall. He had to bring the car to pit road, put on a new set of tires, and finish 24th. It sucks that it happened because he had a car that could have won that race. I mean, he's been so good this year with the 2 wins he's got from Vegas and Phoenix. He could have gotten his 3rd win yesterday, but unfortunately circumstances affected his chances of the win. But he still showed strength and speed. I guarantee when we come back here in August, he'll be one of the guys to talk about. But once again, he's off to a great start to the year. Despite the finish yesterday, he had a great car. Alex Bowman, of course, after the points were given back to Hendrick Motorsports, Bowman was able to get back the points lead. And he started on pole yesterday because qualifying got rained out. We didn't have practice or qualifying because of the rain on Saturday. So Bowman started on the pole yesterday. In the beginning, looked strong, but then slept back. And quite frankly, he wasn't as good as Byron and Larson yesterday. He was good enough to stay in the top 10 and keep his track position, but not strong enough to contend for the victory for the most part. At the end of the day, he comes away with an 8th place finish, but still continuing a strong, consistent season. I mean, he's literally not had a DNF yet and has only finished outside the top 10 once, and that was Atlanta. Every other race, that 48 cars in the top 5 or the top 10. That's consistency, and eventually it's going to lead to him getting to victory lane. So a great day for the 48 team. But none more surprising and impressive than the man that finished behind Kyle Larson 2nd, Josh Berry, relief driver for Chase Elliott, 2nd place finish. That is so impressive. Now, Josh Berry, I had a feeling coming into this race he would run very well because this is a short track, a 3/4 mile track. And what does Josh Berry have in the beginning of his days of racing that got him to where he is today? He's an experienced short track racer, especially in his modified days. And Dale Jr. took a chance on him and brought him up to the Xfinity Series. Had some runs there in 2015. Has been running for his team ever since 2021 and has done a phenomenal job. And was called up to relief drive for Chase Elliott beginning at Vegas. Had a top 10 at Phoenix. Was able to bring home a top 20 with a red car at Atlanta. I still don't know how that happened, but I felt like yesterday he was going to be able to come through with a solid result. At the beginning of the race, he started at the back of the pack at 30th because of the way the starting lineup was set because of the metrics and everything. He stayed there for the most part in the top 20, and then at lap 95 in turn 4, he got bumped from behind by Ryan Blaney and spun around, bringing out a caution, but luckily didn't hit anything and didn't get lapped. He came in, got a set of tires, got back out there, and then when we went into the green flag run of, pit stops in the middle of stage 2, Berry pitted earlier than a lot of other cars and was able to try to jump everyone and get some track position. It kind of helped, and then he decided to pit again because he felt like he needed some tires to try to at least stay in the lead lap because he didn't think the tires he put on earlier, especially with how early he pitted for the leaders, he would have gotten laps pretty quickly. He came in again, got those tires, and came ripping through the field and got his lap back a couple laps before the stage ended. And then stayed top 15 all of stage 3. And then when everyone was having that final cycle green flag pit stops, Berry stayed out, actually, and led some laps. And that was courtesy of interim crew chief Tom Gray in for Alan Gustafson. He kept him out there, thinking they were probably actually going to go the rest of the race without pitting at all because they felt like with track position that they had out front leading, despite everyone else coming behind with fresher tires, they would at least finish top 10, top 15. But when the caution came out, they literally were the ones that benefited from that. Well, there were a couple others too, but they benefited from that a lot because they put them in the top 5 with a chance to win. And they got a pit road in 2nd place behind Larson. Now, the first restart, he nearly jumped the 5 car. You saw the 9 jump, but he backed off quickly before they exited the restart box and Larson was ahead. So if Berry jumped Larson, he would have gotten a penalty for that, but thankfully he didn't. The second restart, much better, stayed side by side with the 5 car, just a few inches behind him after they came out of the restart box. He really couldn't do anything to contend with Larson, but to come home second place, he just got, high fives and hugs from everyone around him after that performance. Jeff Gordon was impressed. Ross Chastain came by to congratulate him on a solid run. Obviously, the rest of Hendrick teammates and Hendrick organization came by to congratulate him. A very special run for Josh Berry. Jeff Gordon said he might have a future in the Cup Series. At 32 years old, who knows? He could get an opportunity. It all depends if Dale Jr. wants to start a Cup team. He would need a charter if he wants to do it. But nonetheless, a great performance and showing by Josh Berry yesterday, and a great run in general by all the Hendrick cars. Number 3, Joe Gibbs Racing. Dominant, but didn't close the deal. Those Gibbs cars yesterday, and literally ever since 2015, or literally ever since in the history of Joe Gibbs Racing, they have been so good at Richmond. They just have a knack for this racetrack. And yesterday, their cars were so good. I want to get to 3 of them because there's one of them I want to get to a little bit later for another storyline. But the 3 Gibbs cars that I'm going to talk about, they had good days. They just weren't able to pull through. Starting off with the 4th place finisher, Christopher Bell. Really good race car. Remember, he finished second in both of these races actually last year. He finished second in the spring to Denny Hamlin. He finished second in the summer race to Kevin Harvick. He's really good at this type of racing because it kind of drives like a dirt track because of, you having to manage the tires and you're slipping and sliding all over the place. He had a top 5 car yesterday, and he looked like he could contend with the leaders. But there were times where he needed long green flag runs because that's where his car was the strongest. And it felt like nobody could touch him on those extra long green runs. But in the final stage, that didn't materialize with a couple cautions that we had, and it kind of killed his momentum driving through the field. He tried to get back up there, especially on the next to last restart. He made a dive bomb move into turn 1, and again, carried up the track and got into the 24 of Byron, taking Byron out of a chance at a win or a possible top 3 finish, because that's where the 24 was probably going to end up. Bell, he could have gotten the win if we, again, had long runs, but he carried in too deep into 1 and got in the 24, but the argument could be made that the 1 of Chastain carried a dive bomb movement into 1 as well, but that's what everyone's doing on the fresh tires, so it's unfortunate it happened to Byron, and it happened off the front bar of Bell, but he was able to come out with a good result nonetheless. Martin Truex Jr., it looked like yesterday was going to be the day he broke the winless streak. He hadn't won a Cup race since at this track in the fall of 2021, the weekend of the 20-year anniversary of 9/11. That's the last time Truex won a Cup race, a points race, I might add. He did win the Clash earlier this year, and he was so strong, but he hadn't won a points race since 2021 at Richmond in the fall. But he was so strong yesterday, especially on those long runs. He was dominant. He was strong. It looked like he and Byron were going to be the ones duking it out for the victory at the end. But when the caution came out for Tyler Redick, it killed his chances to try to win a long run. And the other thing that played a factor into him not winning the race, earlier in the race, he pitted with a couple other cars for fresh tires. It was, I think, at the end of stage 1. He pitted for tires and started to go up through the field. Well, had he not used that set, it would have helped him for the final pit stop of the race under that caution. Because what did he have left in the pits? He didn't have any fresh tires left, unlike everyone else. The only relative tires he had left that were relatively fresh, 6-lap scuffs. Ouch. He restarted in 3rd spot, but after that final restart, after the caution for the 24 getting spun into the wall, Truex dropped like a rock from 3rd to 11th. I mean, the 11th result's still a good result, but you think about what could have been if the caution didn't come out, and you think, what if they didn't use that set of tires early in the race? Now, they couldn't have dictated that caution was going to happen. Nobody could. Nobody could. Nobody thought that the 45 was going to get loose underneath the 4 and cause a late race yell, setting up an interesting chain of events. Nobody expected that. But unfortunately, that's racing. It's how it goes. He wasn't happy about it, but they had speed. And I guarantee, come back here in August, he will be a factor for the victory. It's just, he'll pull through eventually. It's just, they got to get some luck on their side. And then Ty Gibbs, the rookie, he's, of course, carried a reputation of driving a little over his head last year in the Xfinity Series despite winning the championship, and wanted to come in this year and try to run well, gain some experience, and gain the respect of his competitors that he's racing around. And the last few weeks, Ty Gibbs has done a really good job. Scored his first career top 10 at Atlanta by finishing in 9th, finished 9th again last week at Circuit of the Americas, ran very well yesterday, top 15 for the most part, wasn't on par with his other 3 teammates, but still good to hold good track position for the majority of the race and have good speed. He came out of the day with, you guessed it, a 9th place finish. That's good consistency and momentum building for this young kid. Now, do I think he can win eventually? he's going to need to run a little bit better and run towards the top 5 on a consistent basis to, make us even consider him a possible contender for victories and maybe make the playoffs this year. But he's doing a good job right now. Just keep building consistency and building a good reputation of racing with your competitors and getting respect, and you'll be fine. So it was a good day for Gibbs yesterday, but unfortunately, none of them were able to bring home the checkered flag. Number 4, Denny Hamlin. The terrible, horrible, no good, very bad race for Denny Hamlin. That's what it was yesterday. My goodness, that was awful. Denny Hamlin coming in was considered, like his teammates, one of the favorites. Why? Well, because this track is close to his home in Chesterfield, Virginia, and Richmond, Virginia is not far from Chesterfield. He was coming in as the favorites because he is very good here. He's won her many times. He won the spring race last year, and at the beginning, he looked like he had the speed to win the race. What happens on the first pit stop of the race under competition caution? Penalized for speeding on pit row. But he does that all the time, so what else is new? But a couple laps after that on a race start, a few laps after that pit stop, he's stuck in the middle of traffic trying to find his way through the field. And what happens going to turn 1? He literally dumped the 15 car of J.J. Yeley into the wall. And how can you tell? He had a helmet cam that Fox put in his car for the race to give the fans at home and viewers at home a perspective of what the driver's doing behind the wheel of a race car on this racetrack. Well, that helmet cam helped big time because it showed us that he clearly got into the back of the 15 car and just ran into him. And J.J. Yeley, by the way, was not happy about that and called Denny Hamlin out of it because he said a few weeks ago he was calling out the competitors how there's been a lack of respect and, how everyone's racing each other. And he did that to me. He's kind of basically calling Denny Hamlin a hypocrite right there. And it was kind of hypocritical what he did on the racetrack. I'm not going to lie. But despite that, he was able to bounce back into the top 10 at Stage 2 and was actually able to win Stage 2 because of how strong his race car was. And we had a long green flag run. Stage 3, it looked like he was going to battle it out with the 24 and the 19 at the time. What happens on the first pit stop under green at that time? They are pitting for tires. On the right side, they didn't get the right front tire tight enough. They had to go back around and cost a couple of extra seconds on that pit stop and dropped him from 2nd to 12th. Then the caution comes out. I felt like that's a break for him to get back into the game. But they could never really get back up through the field in the late stages of that race. And then when we had that final pit stop of the race, what happened? Once again, Denny Hamlin caught for speeding. So, yeah, it was a rough day for him. He ended up 20th. I mean, again, Denny Hamlin is a great race car driver, and he's won many, many premier races in the sport. But these types of mistakes is what's preventing him from winning a Cup Series championship. And quite frankly, I just can't see it happening if they can't eliminate the mistakes. If you don't eliminate the mistakes, you're not going to be a contender for championships. Now, can he be a contender for wins without these mistakes? Yes. But when it comes down to championship time, that's where it hurts him the most. It's his Achilles heel. And yesterday, it just felt like Achilles heel. And you getting into J.J. Yeley, dude, what the hell was that? Seriously, what the hell was that? A rough day for the 11 car. And number 5, the racing product at Richmond. This was the second race on a short track this year where we debuted our new short track package, which basically is a decrease of downforce by 30%. We wanted to put on a good show for the fans, whether it be side-by-side action, slipping and sliding, and definitely, tire loss for the most part, where, cars are out of control and guys managing their tires. Did we get that yesterday? Yes, we did. I'm not joking, folks, that was one of the best races in Richmond I've seen in a long, 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 long time. It's been quite a while since we've had that type of racing at that short track. It was just good action, side-by-side racing all day long. Comers and goers, that we had a lot of them. We didn't really have one dominant guy. We had at least 5, 6, 7, 8 guys that were capable of winning that race yesterday. And they all took turns battling for the win, battling for the lead, battling in the top 5, top 10. Other guys had some good runs as well. So many comers and goers, obviously. Tire management and the strategies between pitting early versus pitting late, managing your tires early in the run versus burning them early in the run. We saw a lot of that yesterday. And of course, the restarts here at Richmond, when they go 3 and 4 wide, and they come out of there side by side and no one's crashing, it's great racing. How can you not love that? We kind of saw some of that last year at Richmond, but not the side-by-side action and battles on the racetrack like we saw yesterday. Yesterday was a home run with this short track package that we had at Richmond yesterday. That was an amazing race. I'm so proud of NASCAR being able to basically rethink what went wrong with the short track package last year and basically said, we're going to come here with lower downforce. We're going to make it more competitive for the fans. It worked yesterday, and I'm proud of them, and I'm proud of the competitors for putting on a good show with tire management, side-by-side action, slip and sliding. It was great yesterday. And a couple shout-outs, by the way, to both of the front row motorsports cars, because when Josh Berry stayed on that long stint until the caution came out with 20 to go, Michael McDowell and Todd Gilliland also stayed out during that stint, and they were able to benefit from that caution, come and get tires. McDowell came away with a 6th place finish yesterday. That's very impressive. And Todd Gilliland finished in the top 15 and 15 spot. That's also a really good run. And yesterday, Chandler Smith made his NASCAR Cup Series debut driving a 3rd car for Colleague Racing. He entered the Daytona 500 earlier this year, but failed to qualify due to a bad qualifying session and having a penalty in his dual race during pit stops that took him out of the equation to get in the race. He won his first career Xfinity race on Saturday for Colleague Racing, and yesterday, a 17th place finish after he ran top 25 for the most part, but 17th place finish on the lead lap. Not bad, kid. We could see you in the Cup Series maybe next year. But a lot of good storylines yesterday from the top drivers of the sport that ran up front and provided storylines, the racing action we got, and a couple shout-outs to the guys that had some really good runs. So next week, we are going off to the world's fastest half mile, Thunder Valley, the Last Break Coliseum, Bristol Motor Speedway on Easter Sunday. We're going not regular concrete racing, we're going dirt racing next Sunday night. You're going to have your top dirt stars, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Tyler Redick, Chase Briscoe, and others battling it out for the win. Last year, we saw a very entertaining race despite all the rain delays that we have for the most part. We had some great racing last year. Are we going to get that this year without weather? We shall see. It should be a fun event and celebrating the resurrection of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. It will be a fun, blessed weekend next week. We'll see what happens, who will come out on top, who will surprise us, who will, put on a good show. We'll find out. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Subscribe, like. Congratulations once again to Kyle Larson and the 5 team on winning yesterday's race at Richmond in honor of Ricky Hendrick's 43rd birthday. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Let's go racing!